At the hospital, my brother said, "She's not family anymore." Then he signed something he didn't read. Before I tell you what my brother signed while I was lying in that hospital bed, pretending to be unconscious, I need you to do something for me. Drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me if you've ever been the dependable one in your family, the one who pays, the one who fixes, the one who disappears the moment they decide you're no longer useful. I need to know I'm not alone in this. My name is Mira. I'm 29 years old, and up until 4 days ago, I thought I was just the boring, reliable middle child, the one with the stable government job, the one who never caused drama, the one who showed up. Now I know better. I wasn't reliable, I was leverage. The morphine drip was cold going into my arm, but not as cold as my brother Caleb's voice when he said those 5 words through the hospital curtain. "She's not family anymore." I kept my eyes closed, my breathing slow, my body still, because something in his tone told me that if I moved, if I let them know I could hear, I wouldn't just lose my family. I'd lose everything. Let me take you back 6 months. That's when it started. Or maybe that's just when I started noticing. Caleb called me on a Tuesday. That should have been my first clue. Caleb never called on Tuesdays. Tuesdays were his poker nights. "Mira, hey, can you swing by the house this weekend? Mom wants to talk to us about something." "Is she okay?" I asked, my stomach already tightening. Mom had been having dizzy spells. The doctor said it was her blood pressure medication, but she refused to take it consistently. "She's fine," Caleb said, his voice doing that smooth, reassuring thing it always did when he wanted something. "It's just some paperwork stuff. Estate planning, boring adult things. You know how she is. She wants us all on the same page." I should have asked more questions. I should have asked why our younger sister Lennox wasn't invited. But I didn't, because I'd been trained for 29 years to show up when my family called, to be the dependable one, to not make waves. That Saturday, I drove 3 hours to the house I grew up in, the house that smelled like lavender and old books, and the particular kind of silence that comes from secrets nobody talks about. Mom was in the kitchen, wearing her good cardigan, the one she wore to church and funerals. Caleb was already there, leaning against the counter with a mug of coffee and that easy smile that had gotten him out of every consequence he'd ever faced. "There's my girl," Mom said, pulling me into a hug that lasted 2 seconds too long. The kind of hug that means, "I need something from you." We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd done my homework while Caleb skipped class, the same table where I'd signed my first student loan paperwork because Mom said the family couldn't help, the same table where, 3 years ago, I'd agreed to co-sign Caleb's car loan because he was turning things around. He never made a single payment. Mom slid a folder across the table, thick, official-looking. "I know this seems morbid," she said, her voice doing that fragile thing it did when she wanted sympathy, "but I'm not getting any younger. And after your father passed, I realized I never got things in order." She paused, looked at Caleb, then at me. "I want to make sure you two are taken care of." I should have noticed that Lennox wasn't mentioned. I should have noticed that the documents were already filled out. I should have noticed that Caleb wouldn't meet my eyes. But I didn't, because I was too busy feeling relieved that for once, I wasn't being asked to pay for something. The document was titled Family Asset Protection Trust. It sounded official, protective, the kind of thing responsible adults do. Mom explained it in her soft, meandering way. Something about protecting the house from medical debt, making sure Medicaid couldn't take it if she ended up in a nursing home, keeping things in the family. "All you have to do is sign here," she said, pointing to a line at the bottom. "It just says you're aware of the arrangement, that's all." Caleb had already signed. His signature was big and confident, taking up more space than necessary. I picked up the pen. I should have read it. I should have taken it home and had a lawyer look at it. But I didn't, because I'd been trained to trust my family, to believe that being difficult was worse than being careful. I signed, and just like that, I gave away something I didn't know I had. The car accident happened on a Thursday. I was driving home from work, evening traffic. the kind of half-focused driving where you're thinking about dinner and emails, and whether you remembered to pay the water bill. The light turned green. I accelerated. And then, impact. The SUV came from the left, running the red light at 50 miles an hour. The sound was enormous. Metal screaming, glass exploding, my head whipping sideways into the airbag. And then, nothing. When I woke up, I was on a gurney. Fluorescent lights sliding past overhead. Voices talking over me like I was furniture. Significant trauma to the left side. Possible concussion. Family en route. I tried to speak, but my mouth felt full of cotton. My left arm was strapped down. Something beeped steadily near my head. A face appeared above me. A paramedic, young with kind eyes. "You're okay," he said. "You're at County General. You were in an accident. Do you remember?" I tried to nod. Pain spiked through my neck. "Don't move," he said quickly. "We've got you stabilized. Your brother's meeting us there." My brother, Caleb. Something about that felt wrong, but I couldn't grab onto why. The morphine was pulling me under, and I let it. The next time I woke up, I was in a hospital room. The curtain was half closed. Machines beeped. The smell was antiseptic and artificial, and somehow claustrophobic. I could hear voices outside the curtain. One of them was Caleb. I started to call out, but something stopped me. Some animal instinct that said, "Wait, listen first." "She's stable," a doctor's voice said. Male, clipped, professional. "Thank God," Caleb said. He sounded relieved. He sounded like a concerned brother. "How long until she's discharged?" "That depends. She has a mild concussion, some bruising, a fractured wrist. We'll keep her overnight for observation. If there are no complications, she can go home tomorrow." A pause. Then Caleb's voice, quieter. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "This accident, it was pretty severe, right? I mean, she could have been hurt a lot worse." "Yes," the doctor said slowly. "She was very lucky." Another pause. Longer this time. "What if she wasn't so lucky?" Caleb asked. "Hypothetically, what if, I don't know, what if she was incapacitated? What happens then?" My chest tightened. "Well," the doctor said, "if a patient is unable to make medical decisions, we'd consult the next of kin. Do you have power of attorney?" "I might," Caleb said. "We set something up recently, estate planning stuff. I'd have to check." "If you do, bring the documentation. We can add it to her file." "Yeah," Caleb said. "Yeah, I'll do that." His voice wasn't worried. It was calculating. I kept my eyes closed. I kept my breathing even. I waited. 20 minutes later, or Caleb came into the room. I heard his footsteps, heard him pull up a chair. "Hey, Mira," he said softly. "It's me. You're going to be fine. Just rest." He didn't touch me, didn't hold my hand, didn't do any of the things a worried brother would do. He just sat there. And I realized with cold, creeping certainty, he was waiting to see if I'd wake up. I didn't open my eyes until Caleb left. When the nurse came in to check my vitals, I asked for my phone. "It's in your personal belongings," she said. "Do you want me to get it?" "Please." She hesitated. "Are you sure you're feeling up to it? You should rest." "I need to check something," I said. "Please." She brought it 5 minutes later. The screen was cracked, but it still worked. I opened my email, and there it was. Subject: Document Execution Confirmation. Family Asset Protection Trust, sent 3 months ago. I clicked it open with shaking hands. "Dear Mira, this email confirms that the Family Asset Protection Trust has been executed and recorded. As co-trustee, you have been granted limited authority to act on behalf of the trust in the event of incapacitation of the primary trustee, Patricia Hollis, your mother. Attached, full trust documentation. I downloaded the attachment. I read it. And that's when I understood. The trust wasn't about protecting the house from medical debt. It was about transferring ownership. Mom had deeded the house to the trust, but the trust wasn't controlled by her. It was controlled by the trustees, Caleb and me. Except it wasn't really Caleb and me, because buried on page 17, in a clause labeled Succession of Authority, was this: in the event that one co-trustee is deemed incapacitated, incompetent, or otherwise unable to fulfill their duties, sole authority shall transfer to the remaining trustee. I read it again and again. Caleb didn't need me to die. He just needed me to be incapacitated, and then he'd have complete control of the house, of Mom's assets, of everything. I sat there in that hospital bed, the machines beeping, the morphine making my thoughts slow and thick. And I realized something. The car accident was lucky. Lucky for Caleb, because now he had an opening. The next morning, I was still playing dead. Not literally, but I kept my eyes half closed. My responses slow. I let them think the concussion was worse than it was, because I needed to see what Caleb would do. He arrived at 9 a.m., now carrying coffee and a folder. "Hey, Mira," he said, sitting down. "How are you feeling?" I mumbled something incoherent. He leaned closer. "The doctor says you're doing great. Just a little foggy, right? That's normal." I let my eyes drift shut. I heard him stand up, heard him walk to the door, heard him call someone over. "Excuse me, doctor?" A new voice, female, older. "Yes?" "I need to talk to you about my sister's care. Can we step outside?" They left. I cracked my eyes open and saw the folder on the chair. I had maybe 2 minutes. I reached for it. Pain shot through my wrist, but I ignored it. I flipped it open, and there it was. Limited Power of Attorney, Emergency Medical Decisions, pre-signed by Caleb, waiting for a doctor's signature. The document said I was incapacitated, that I couldn't make my own medical decisions, that Caleb, as my brother and co-trustee, was authorized to act on my behalf, temporarily. I stared at it, and then I saw the second document underneath, Release of Medical Information. Also pre-signed by Caleb, authorizing him to access all my medical records, my insurance information, my health history. Why would he need that? Unless the insurance. The car was in Caleb's name, but the insurance policy. I grabbed my phone, opened my insurance app, the one I'd set up 2 years ago when I bought my first used sedan. The policy was still active, but the beneficiary had been changed 3 months ago. To Caleb. My hands stopped shaking. My mind went very, very quiet. This wasn't opportunistic. This was planned. When Caleb came back, I was asleep again. He sat down. I heard him sigh, heard him tapping on his phone. Then a nurse came in. Not the same one from before. This one was older, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, and eyes that looked like they'd seen everything. "I need to check her vitals," she said. "Sure," Caleb said, standing. "I'll give you some privacy." "No need," she said, but her tone said, "Leave." Caleb hesitated, then left. The nurse closed the door. Then she looked at me. "You can stop pretending," she said quietly. My eyes snapped open. She didn't smile, just started checking the machines, her movements brisk and efficient. "How long have you been awake?" she asked. "Since yesterday," I whispered. She nodded. "Thought so. Your vitals spike every time he talks." I stared at her. "I've been doing this 30 years, she said. "I know what family looks like, and I know what a predator looks like." She pulled something out of her pocket. A business card. Patient Advocacy Services, County General Hospital. "You're going to need this," she said. "Call them today." "Why?" I asked. She looked at the door, then back at me. "Because your brother just tried to get Dr. Nesbitt to sign a medical incapacity declaration, and if she does, you lose the right to make your own decisions." I called the number on the card. 20 minutes later, a woman in a gray blazer walked into my room. She had a tablet, a briefcase, and the kind of face that didn't waste time on pleasantries. "I'm Dana Cortez," she said, "patient advocate and hospital legal liaison. You called about a capacity concern? Yes, I said. My brother is trying to have me declared incapacitated. She pulled up a chair, opened her tablet. Tell me everything. I did. The trust, the accident, the insurance beneficiary change, the documents Caleb brought. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Do you know what a springing power of attorney is?" Yes, I said. I worked in compliance for the state. I knew exactly what it was. Then you know it requires two things, she said. First, an activating event. In this case, medical incapacity. She looked at me. Second, it requires proof. Independent medical assessment. Not one doctor. 2, minimum. Caleb only has 1, I said. Caleb has 0, she corrected, because Dr. Nesbitt refused to sign. Something loosened in my chest. But he'll try again, Dana said. He'll find another doctor, someone less careful. She leaned forward. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get ahead of him. We're going to get you a full cognitive assessment from neurology. We're going to document that you are fully competent. And then we're going to file a protective order against any further attempts to declare you incapacitated. I nodded. And, she added, we're going to look very closely at that trust document you signed, because if it was executed under false pretenses, it's void. The neurologist was a thin, serious woman named Dr. Kapoor. She ran me through a series of tests: memory, cognitive function, reasoning, motor skills. I passed everything. You have a mild concussion, she said when we were done. But you are absolutely competent to make your own decisions. I'll file my assessment immediately. Thank you, I said. She paused at the door. For what it's worth, I've seen this before. I'm family members trying to take control during a medical crisis. It rarely ends well. For them? I asked. She smiled. Yes. Caleb came back that afternoon with Mom. She looked frail and worried, clutching her purse like a life raft. Mira, sweetheart, she said, rushing to my bedside. How are you feeling? Better, I said carefully. Caleb stood by the door, arms crossed, watching. The doctor says you can probably go home tomorrow, Mom said. I thought you could stay with me for a few days, just until you're fully recovered. That's kind, I said, but I think I'll go back to my apartment. Mom's face fell. Are you sure? You shouldn't be alone. I won't be, I said. Lennox is coming to stay with me. That wasn't true, but I wanted to see Caleb's reaction. His jaw tightened. Lennox? Mom said, surprised. I didn't know you two were close. We weren't. Lennox and I had barely spoken in 2 years, ever since she'd moved across the country to get away from the family. But Caleb didn't know that. We've been talking more, I said, keeping my eyes on him. She's been really supportive. That's nice, Mom said uncertainly. Caleb pushed off the wall. Can I talk to you? He said to me. Alone? No, I said. He blinked. What? I said no. Anything you want to say, you can say in front of Mom. His face hardened. Mira, don't be difficult. I'm not being difficult, I said evenly. I'm being clear. Mom looked between us, confused. What's going on? Nothing, Caleb said quickly. Mira's just stressed. The accident. I know about the trust, I said. The room went silent. Mom's face went pale. What? The Family Asset Protection Trust, I said. The one you had me sign 6 months ago. The one that gives Caleb full control if I'm incapacitated. That's not, Mom started. It is, I said. I read it. Caleb stepped forward. Mira, you're confused. The concussion. I'm not confused, I said. I had a full cognitive assessment this morning. Dr. Kapoor cleared me. I'm completely competent. His face went blank. And I know you tried to have me declared otherwise, I continued. I know you brought documents for Dr. Nesbitt to sign. I know you changed the insurance beneficiary. I know exactly what you're doing. Mom sank into a chair. Caleb, what is she talking about? He didn't answer, just stared at me, and I saw it. The moment he realized I wasn't the dependable, passive sister anymore, I was a problem. There's something you should know, I said to Caleb. He was still standing there, frozen. That document you brought for Dr. Nesbitt, I said. The limited power of attorney? He didn't respond. It wasn't just a medical authorization, I said. It was a personal liability form. His eyes narrowed. What? Page 4, Section 11C, the part you didn't read before you signed it. Dana had shown it to me, had explained it very carefully. It states that by signing, you acknowledge that any false or fraudulent representation made to obtain power of attorney constitutes personal liability for damages, financial damages, legal damages, criminal liability. Caleb's face drained of color. And since you tried to have me declared incapacitated when I wasn't, I continued, and since you've been accessing accounts and making decisions without proper authorization, you're now personally liable for fraud. Mom made a small sound. Caleb? He turned to her. Mom, I was trying to help. Help, I said. You changed my insurance beneficiary. You tried to take control of the trust. You waited outside my hospital room like a vulture waiting for me to die. That's not, he started. Yes, it is, I said. My voice was quiet, but it cut through his protests like glass. And we both know it. Mom looked at Caleb, then at me. Tell me this isn't true, she whispered. Caleb ran a hand through his hair. Mom, you don't understand. The house, the medical bills, we need to protect. From what? She asked. From her, he said, pointing at me. She's going to put you in a home. She's going to sell the house. Nia, she's going to take everything. I stared at him. I've never said any of that, I said. You don't have to, he shot back. That's what people like you do. You wait until we're weak, and then you swoop in and take control. People like me? I repeated. Responsible people, he spat. People who think they're better than everyone else because they have a salary and a 401k. And there it was. The resentment, the entitlement, the belief that my stability was somehow an attack on him. Mom stood up slowly. Caleb, I think you should leave. He turned to her. What? Leave, she repeated. Her voice was shaking but firm. Now. Mom, you can't be serious. I am, she said. Go. He looked at me one more time, and I saw it in his eyes. Not regret, rage. He left. The door slammed behind him. Mom sank back into the chair. She looked 10 years older. I didn't know, she said quietly. I thought it was just paperwork. Did you read it? I asked. She shook her head. Caleb handled it. He said it was standard. He said you understood. I didn't, I said. Neither of us did. She started to cry. Soft, helpless tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I didn't respond, because I wasn't sure I forgave her. That evening, I called my bank. I need to freeze all my accounts, I said. May I ask why? The representative asked. Fraud prevention, I said. I believe someone has been accessing my accounts without authorization. There was typing on the other end. I see you have a co-signer on your checking account. Yes, I said. Caleb Hollis. He's been making withdrawals, she said, regularly. Over the past 3 months? My stomach dropped. How much? Approximately $15,000. I closed my eyes. Ma'am? The representative said. Are you still there? Yes, I said. Freeze everything, remove him as co-signer, and send me a full transaction history. I'll need verification, she said. Can you come into a branch? I'm in the hospital, I said, but I'll be there tomorrow. I didn't press charges, not yet, but I filed a police report. There's a difference. One is emotional, reactive. The other is documentation. The officer who took my statement was a young woman with tired eyes. Financial exploitation of a family member is tricky, she said, especially if you gave him access initially. I know, I said, but I didn't give him access to change beneficiaries. I didn't give him access to the trust assets. And I didn't give him permission to declare me incapacitated. She nodded slowly. And you have proof? I have emails, bank statements, the trust document, medical records. She wrote everything down. This will take time, she said, but we'll investigate. That's all I'm asking, I said. Lennox called me that night. Mom told me what happened, she said. Are you okay? I'm fine, I said. Liar, she said. But her voice was gentle. We hadn't spoken in 2 years, not because of a fight, just because we'd drifted. She'd moved to Portland, started a new life, left the family behind. Why did you leave? I asked. She was quiet for a moment. Because I realized something, she said. We were never a family. We were a system. And in that system, some of us were resources, and some of us were drains. And I didn't want to be either. Which one was I asked. A resource, she said. And the worst part is, you didn't even know it. I left the hospital 2 days later, slowly, carefully. My wrist was in a cast. My ribs were bruised. I walked like I was made of glass. But I walked out, with copies of everything. Dana had helped me file a protective order, a freeze on all trust assets, a formal complaint with the state bar about the lawyer who'd drafted the trust. This is going to get ugly, she'd warned me. It already is, I said. Caleb lost access first. The bank removed him from my accounts. The trust was frozen pending investigation. His power of attorney was voided. Then he lost credibility. Mom stopped taking his calls. Lennox blocked him entirely. His friends, our mutual friends, started hearing stories. Not from me. I didn't have to say anything. The truth spread on its own. Then he lost his job. He worked in insurance, claims management, the kind of job that requires a clean record. But once the police report was filed, his employer launched an internal review and found irregularities in his own expense reports. Compliance departments talk, quietly. He was terminated. The house wasn't sold, but the trust was dissolved. A real lawyer looked at it and found 3 separate violations of state trust law. It was voided entirely. Mom kept the house, but she signed a new will, a clear one. Everything split equally between Lennox and me. Caleb got nothing. Is that fair? Mom asked me when she told me. I don't know, I said honestly, but it's what you want. She nodded. It is. Caleb tried to talk to me, once. He showed up at my apartment 3 weeks after I was discharged. I didn't let him in. We stood in the hallway, him on one side of the door, me on the other. I was trying to protect the family, he said. By stealing from me? I asked. I wasn't stealing. I was managing assets. Without my knowledge, without my consent. You would have said no, he said. Exactly. He was quiet. Was it the gambling? I asked. Or just the entitlement? His jaw clenched. You don't understand what it's like. What's like? Being the one everyone expects to fail, he said. Being the screw-up, the disappointment. You've always had it easy. I laughed. Actually laughed. Easy? I said. I worked 3 jobs to pay for college because you drained the family fund. I co-signed loans you never paid back. I covered Mom's bills while you played poker. And you think I had it easy? You always acted like you were better than me, he said. No, I said. I acted like I was responsible for me. You're the one who made it a competition. He left after that. I didn't cry, didn't yell. I just closed the door and locked it. People ask me why I don't speak to my brother anymore. I tell them the truth. He decided I wasn't family, I say, and then he put it in writing. Some of them look uncomfortable. They say things like, but he's your brother, or family is family. And I just smile, because they don't understand. Family isn't blood. Family is choice. And Caleb made his. So did I. 6 months later, I moved. Not far. Just far enough that my address isn't in the family records anymore. Lennox and I talk every week now, sometimes more. We're rebuilding something that was never really there in the first place. Mom calls sometimes. Our conversations are careful, polite. We're not close, but we're not enemies. Caleb sent a letter last month. I didn't open it. I burned it in the kitchen sink and washed the ashes down the drain. Because some bridges don't burn, they expire. And the statute of limitations on his fraud? That doesn't expire for another 4 years. So I wait. Not because I want revenge, but because I want him to know, every single day, that the choice is mine. Not his. Not anymore. If you've ever been the dependable one, the one who pays for everyone else's mistakes, the one who gets used up and thrown away the moment you stop being useful, drop a comment below. Tell me your story. Tell me you survived. Because I need you to know, you're not alone. And you're not the problem. You never were. End